Hello, friends. I'm Lauren O'Hayan from Restore Your Core. Today, we are talking about the connection between your feet and your neck hump, if you have one. So, let's talk about a neck hump specifically right now first, and then we'll kind of go through the chain. A neck hump is not an isolated event, even though it feels like it is. And the place that the neck hump forms is normally, again, not the site of the compensation journey that the body took to develop the hump. It's just the end point in a kind of domino chain of events. So your spine is not just a straight rod. It's curvy, it's flexible, it's movable, and it's attached to your pelvis. And so changes in your pelvis, changes in your hips will absolutely change what happens up the chain. If you tilt your hips forward, your low back will move into an arch. Your mid back will probably follow, and your upper back a little bit as well. And the converse is the same. If I tuck my pelvis under, my low back will round backwards, will curve backwards, and I'll end up kind of hunched here. So in my shoulders and chest. The the head is always trying to look forward. Your eyes have a reflex, it's called the riding reflex, and they're always trying to look you straight ahead. So it doesn't matter if your body is pulling you down or your chest is pulling you too far forward. Your eyes are always looking for the horizon line. So the neck can often end up kind of craning and straining, or the head pulling forward. But the head will also pull forward based on those physics changes that happen, right? The changes that happen in the spine when you change your pelvis, right? So if I untuck my pelvis a lot, the chain travels all the way up and it moves where my head is. So a neck hump can happen when the head is being pushed out of place a lot. The head comes forward a lot, and it's not that it's there for just a moment. So an exercise where your head is being pushed forward is not the problem. It's walking around like that all day long. Now, from the hips, so the hips will affect the spine. But what affects the hips? Well, the hips and the feet are very connected. And let's use the same explanation analogy. When I rock my hips forward, so let's call it a tilt. When I tilt my pelvis forwards, I should feel the arches of my feet drop down. When I tilt my pelvis back, so that's a tuck, my arches should lift. So that is a normal response. It's a chain reaction. So if somebody comes to me and their pelvis is very patterned, excessively tilted, or excessively tucked, I'm always looking to see now what's happening at their feet. Because if their feet are constantly pulling the pelvis into that position, no amount of exercises on the pelvis will be amazing if I don't really address the feet. Although I will say that working on the pelvis can really, really help the feet because it kind of forces the feet into a different position and strengthens them. But you want to do more than just forcing your feet anywhere. You really want to be intentional in your goals. Well, some people have very, very pronated feet, and some people have bunions, and some people have very arched feet, very rigid feet. So pronated feet are less rigid and more mobile. Supinated feet, arched feet, are more rigid. Pronated feet, dropped feet, will sometimes go hand in hand with these bones of your legs rolling inwards all the time. That will affect your pelvic positioning, which in turn affects your spine. And the opposite of true. If your feet are very, very arched, your thighs might roll outward, and this might tuck your pelvis under, and so on and so forth. So just looking at your spine, like up here, is not a great idea. Just looking at your pelvis, not a great idea. The changes that happen in the head and the neck often begin down or are affected by what's happening at the feet. So a really good approach is to connect your feet all the way up the chain. Now, I can't sit here and say, so if you have bunions, you'll do this. And if you have really rigid feet, you'll do this. And if you, there's a lot of variables. That's what we do in a one-to-one consultation. But in a general rule, I'm going to show you a bunch of exercises that I really love to help create a foot to head integration, especially when there is a neck hump present. So the first thing is like, no matter what you have going on in your body, it's a really good idea to be able to get good or adequate toe splay. So just like your fingers can splay out like this, we really want our toes to be able to splay out like this. For a lot of people wearing traditional shoes, their feet are kind of glued and stuck to each other. And so starting to work on your foot, getting back into, it's got many, many bones, joints, tendons, ligaments. It's got a ton of potential. It's your foundation. So really starting to be barefoot more often, use toe spacers if your feet are stuck together, and then do the exercises to strengthen your toes. There's so many of them that you can find, but just basic ones like, can you lift your big toe up without the other toes? On both feet, can you lift the other toes without the big toes? Can you go back and forth? Can you spread your toes wide? Those are great things to be able to do, period. Okay, so that's like for the foot. Another foot exercise, which is going to be really useful if you have if you find that you have overly arched feet or overly pronated feet, then this exercise is going to be fantastic as a starting point. You want to use a slider, so a paper plate if you're on rug, and a washcloth if you're on the floor, a hard floor, and you're going to put your right foot on it, just the forefoot. So that is going to force your foot into an arch and strengthen the muscles of your foot. Even if you have very arched feet, you want to do this, okay? And then you're going to slide that foot forward. You slide it forward. You then lower the heel to the floor, bend the knee, then you push the knee inside, letting your arch drop. You push your knee open, you raise the heel, and you slide back. All of that's in control. So it's not this. It's not just like, floppy, and you're imagining that you're in a jar of maple syrup and it's hard to move. So you slide out slowly. You don't have to go that far. Put your foot down. These are different movements. Slow in, slow push out, heel raise, and you don't yank your body back. You move back with control. So you're working a lot of this posterior chain, which is very important for pelvic positioning, foot strength, glutes, pelvic floor, all of it. So that's the first exercise, 8 of them. The next exercise is the first exercise was actually getting your feet and toes strong. That's really important. So like the toe splay, the lifting of the toes. The next exercise was the slider. And then you're going to slide even more. You can put your knees on a mat or a blanket, and we'll put the slider underneath our right foot. And here you want to slide back. But as you slide back, you don't walk your hands back like I just demonstrated. Actually, keep your hands forward. So you slide back, and then your back is going to want to arch like this. So you actually have to tuck your pelvis under, not your upper back, but your pelvis. And you only slide back as far as you can with your pelvis tucked under. You're going to get a huge stretch in your right, if you're doing it on the same side as me, in your right hips flexor. This is a really important muscle group because it pulls the pelvis into its patterns, right? Some people would say it pulls the pelvis out of alignment. I like to think of everything as a pattern and not a right or wrong. So you're sliding your foot back, sliding it back with the slider. You're making sure your pelvis is tucked under. So your pubic bone is reaching towards your chin, and you're going back, and you're going to feel a big, big stretch. You don't let your back arch like this. And after 8 of them, you're going to stay there and pump your foot back and forth. You're not sliding it, you're pumping at the heel 10 times. It is very intense, but very effective. You will feel it in your hip. You will feel it in the other hip. It's a hard exercise, but it really stretches and strengthens. And I love it because it uses the foot as well. You're pumping with your foot. So the last exercise that I'm going to show you, the last exercise group, two more exercises. One of them is an oldie but a goodie, where you are really getting strong in raising your leg standing. You can use a wall or not. It's not a balance exercise, so if the balance is hard, you're using a wall, and you're just going to get really, really efficient and proficient at holding your leg up. It doesn't have to be high, it can be here. What you don't want to have happen is that as your leg lifts up, your back rounds and curls like this. So you just go, and you want to be able to hold it for 5 seconds and then lower it on both sides 8 times. And the last exercise group is any exercise that you know of to strengthen your upper back. So I'll show you a few, but there are really just so many. Some of them are where you're just standing and you imagine there's a wall behind you, and you hold your arms like this, and you are just pulling your hands back into the wall, pushing your hands into the wall. However, two things. One of them is you don't elevate your shoulders like this. And then the other one is that you don't arch your back forward like this, so you're not creating a big back arch. You're trying to think about these lower shoulder blade region. So the lower part of your shoulder blade pulling towards itself, each other, squeezing a pencil in the back. And you hold there for 5 seconds, and then you release and lower the arms down. And you do that 8 times. That's one right there. You can do it lying. You lie down on your belly and you're raising your head and arms off the floor. There's all sorts of exercises where you assume this position and then you reach the arms up and down. Remember, we're not moving the whole spine. It's good to look in the mirror. I have a mirror right behind my camera that I can see myself, right? So we're always checking into our posture, not because there's a good or right way to be, but because there's a different outcome for everything. So that's going to really target your upper back area, which is a great idea. It's a great idea to strengthen around your upper back, your shoulder blades, your neck area. That's not going to get to the root of the problem. So you really want to work on your hips. And the final thing I will say is that in general, I meant to start with this, but I forgot, is the first thing you want to do is just a general check-in before you do all these exercises and see where the weight of your body falls. Shift your weight forward onto your toes and see if that is feels familiar to you. And then shift your weight back and let your toes kind of lift off. And just go back and forth a few times and notice where the weight is. A lot of people that I assess are actually not only standing with a pelvic tilt pattern, either tucked or untucked, whichever, but they're kind of standing forward. And a lot of people stand with their feet turned out and their weight forward, right? So feet turned out, weight forward. That's going to displace, remember physics. This is all about physics. That's going to displace your spine, which will ultimately displace your head. So the first thing you can do is just start standing with your feet a little bit more turned forward and evenly distributed, which for most people means sliding your weight back a bit. So your toes don't pull off, but you are standing with your weight more grounded towards your heels and not grounded towards your toes. Okay, so those are the things to work on. Those are the things to think about. And those are the connections to start looking at in your body. So again, if you find that you have very rigid feet or very pronated feet, or you have bunions and your neck hump is not improving, you want to go down to the chain and start working on those issues as well. Thank you so much for paying attention. I look forward to your comments and questions.